Today's video, we're going to talk about SKAG versus STAG campaigns, campaign setups, and profitability, whether you can make money with both of these, which you absolutely can. Which is better? What are the pros and cons of each, and how to crush it with either if you are dead serious about making millions of dollars with ads on Google Ads for your company. So the main premise of anything to do with Google Ads, and you're trying to get to the goal of making millions on and through the platform, it's all primarily about how much time and effort you're going to put in yourself to get those results. I can tell you everything you need to do. All the information's on this channel for free, and it's coming from somebody who does nothing but 40 hours a week of ad testing and strategy on Google Ads, as well as a few other ad platforms, not, selling courses and talking about running ads, but don't really run any ads, which is what most people on YouTube are doing. You still got to put the damn work in, which very few people want to do. They just want to sit back and have the results come in. They want to know, where's that one magical lever I can pull and then money just rains out of the sky? It's not like that. However, for the time it takes and effort it actually takes to make millions, it's really not that bad. It's really reasonable. It's not nearly as bad as what you think. You still have to do better than your competition in terms of helping your consumers that you're trying to sell to. And if you do, Google's going to favor you, customers are going to favor you, and you're going to make the millions. It all ties together. So with that said, I will give you the process of setting up a SKAG versus a STAG campaign the way that I've done it, the difference in profitability, how much you can make with each. I'll also give you, if you stay to the end of the video, some case studies of different companies where I specifically had done a different, used each of these for campaigns that we've run in our agency, even though we typically use SKAG. I'm Corey Simon, owner of Guaranteed PPC, a PPC/advertising agency that offers guaranteed results to their clients. That is, until you raise your profitability in your ads, there is no management fee to our agency. We're the only agency out in the world doing that. The reason why we can do that is, of course, because I'm the one with 20 years of advertising experience working on clients' accounts, and I can pretty much tell before I work on an account or agree to take an account on at our agency what we can do for that client at a minimum. So if you're looking for a good agency, of course, I promise you, unless you're talking about a big corporate budget, best one you can find around, and you get someone who actually knows what they're doing, dealing with your stuff. But with that, I manage a few dozen ad accounts at any given time, and therefore the information I share with you on today's video is very, very valid, and it comes from somebody who actually knows what they're talking about. So with that said, getting into the content, I did a typical matrix here showing the differences between SKAG and STAG campaigns. Just so that for the guys watching this that are subscribers and didn't stumble upon this, what STAG is. STAG basically stands for single themed ad groups. So with that said, basically what you're doing is, if you are a veterinarian and you offer snake treatments or helping snakes, you help birds get better, help hamsters get better, what you should do is put all the hamster keywords into one ad group. You should put all the snake keywords in one ad group so that you can have custom ads for people searching for those exact things, and you can go along with that, send people to the exact page on your site that is relevant to that particular topic, of which, if you don't have one, you need to, or should, if to really take advantage of the whole purpose of this is to make some decent money from it. And you're only going to get half of that if you set up the ad so it's custom but not the landing page, versus sending them to a homepage on your site. Because people get really pissed off and disappointed when you say we offer, bat treatments, we have a pet bat, and then you send them to your homepage. It's like, this company, I don't even know if they offer it or not now. Does the ad actually reflect what they do? And then on top of it, a lot of times you can't even find anything about bat treatments on the website. So, but that's the general premise of STAG. Now, SKAG takes this one step further, where it's literally every single keyword gets its own ad group. So of the hamster treatment keywords, hamster treatment services gets its own laser targeted ad that you can write a custom headline that applies to just that person searching for just that keyword. Hamster treatment near me gets its own keyword, or gets its own ad. And the reason why you do that is actually because your click-through rates are going to be at least 20-30% higher than with the single themed ad groups. And that's the reality. In a lot of cases, it's going to basically be double. And for that matter, having the conversion rate be higher, you're going to also get higher conversion rates on your click. That is, if you take full advantage of what single keyword ad groups will do for you. That is, we know on average not always and every single time in every single market, but 90% of the markets, if I have a headline that matches what keyword, what search the user typed in, if I have that on the headline of the landing page we're taking them to, we're going to get 40% higher conversion rates on average. The holy grail is, this is what the user wants. People, that are saying that this is not what gets the best results have their head up. Basically, you're not going to get better results outside, and nothing else will beat typically 90+% of the time, an ad that matches what the user typed in and was looking for, and a landing page that matches what was on that ad, so that there's consistency all the way through your actual sales process. And you can't do that with single themed ad groups, because naturally you're going to have to send them to one landing page for a bunch of keywords, even though the keywords are all related to hamsters. You can have a hamster page, which is really, really good still compared to what the average bozo does, which is to throw 50 keywords into a campaign with one ad. You're lucky to make money in that situation. If you're not in a super competitive niche market, you could still make money. Certainly, you're giving yourself every disadvantage starting out. Chances are you're not making money. If you don't track everything, more than likely you're not making any money in a semi or moderately even competitive market with that kind of a setup. Anyway, that's the differences between the two. You're talking about, 50% higher conversion rates, 30, 40, 50% higher click-through rates. At the end of the day, that doesn't sound like much, but that actually gets you not only just more market share, but it also reduces your cost per click, because you have higher quality scores when you have higher click-through rates and higher conversion rates. You're going to pay 30% less per click, so you get more market share, paying way less for a click. Google's also going to want to send more users your way because you're helping their users out more than the competition, assuming they don't have it, which most of the markets out there don't do single keyword ad groups, which is why I can offer guaranteed results for clients that are firm, because I just use single keyword ad groups. That always helps the user basically better than anything else. Therefore, I can get a predictable result out of it. So you're going to get a higher quality user, because people don't know this, and Google doesn't publish this anywhere, but they kind of basically know with their machine learning systems who's likely to become a customer, who's not when they search and come through Google. Guess who they send the person that's most likely to convert into a customer to? The person who's helping their users out the most. Why do they do that? Because they want to encourage that particular person to not go anywhere, because it's making people get a better experience out of Google and therefore more likely to come to Google and click on an ad in the future versus the organics. So you earn that way. At the end of the day, all you got to do to be able to make more money from your ads is just get your click-through rates higher and your conversion rates higher. And if you do that, you're always going to make more money. If you want to keep things simple and want to know how to make more money from your ads and to go on and make millions of dollars a year from your ads, you got to get both those metrics higher, as high as you can, but ideally higher than your competition. There's 4 ads at the top of Google. There's probably 8 or 10 people cycling in and out of those spots in a competitive market. You want to have the better click-through rate and the conversion rate than them, and if you will, you're going to have Google favor. 80% of the people who advertise aren't even making any money. They just don't realize they're not making any money. They've got money coming in from over here, so even though the ads don't make money, it doesn't affect their business. Do that because they don't track things well, and therefore they just don't even know, and then they will lie to themselves. Oh, I don't need a PPC expert, I could just run my ads myself. Really, when they're just literally working for free to run those ads. So anyway, at the end of the day, the end goal of trying to make more money with Google ads, getting higher click-through rate and higher conversion rate, it absolutely does that for you basically every single time. There's some niche markets where it doesn't necessarily apply, but again, 90+% of markets, it's going to get you more click-through rate and more conversion rate every time. And the STAG setup is like the light version of what you can do with your ads to get more click-through rate, conversion rate, and then the SKAG is the one. So this is the light version of setting up a good campaign and getting those results increase that you want. This is the supercharged version, basically, to keep this simple. So with that said, okay, those are the kind of results you could expect. If you're going to do things, I'm going to suggest just going the single keyword ad group, because why not? There is drawbacks. It's truly going to provide you the best results. However, it's going to take a long time to get going. So with everything that's great in this world, there are still drawbacks. If you want results right away with your account, that is, you only have so much money to spend up front before you need to hit a profitability. Otherwise, you'll run out of money and you'll be out of the game, if you will, of running your ads. Then you want to start out with these single keyword themed, the STAG setup basically, because it's the more refined and hyper segmented your campaign is, the more your data that you get from your ad spend gets spread out over a bunch of different stuff. And you need a certain amount of clicks on each keyword to get a high quality score and for Google to recognize what you got. So it's kind of like watering down things, if you will, if you've got the single keyword ad group set up. and it will crush the results out of single STAG setups. You got to give it enough time to work. And depending on, like if you're in a market where the average cost per click is $40 a click, it can take a year plus before the single keyword ad group really shines. But once it does, it really, really shines. You're going to make 3 times as much money with it, and it was worth it to do it. So if you were starting out with less money, appropriate approach might be just to use the STAG setup, make money, then reinvest your money into the single keyword ad group setup, given it takes longer to set up, but is going to get still way more results. And that's what you might want to do. For me at my agency, I don't want to work with a client like that that's like going to finance a campaign on a shoestring budget, and it either has to work right away or they're out of business. Because basically, if you go ahead and you do what I just said here and use the single STAG campaign setup first to make money, all the money that you're going to invest to get that going, when you start the single keyword ad group campaigns, you're going to have to spend money in that to get that going, and because it takes a certain amount of data to take advantage of what you built. And so you're basically just delaying the end result that you're looking for out of single keyword ad group setups by going the STAG setup initially. I just want to get to where all the results are as quick as possible, and the way that I'm going to get there is going right with the single keyword ad group setup right away. But if you've only got $500 and that has to work before otherwise you're going to run out of money and you can't advertise anymore, well then you got to do what you got to do. But the other drawback with single keyword ad groups naturally is it takes the longest to get set up. You have to set up more ads and more landing pages to do things, at least if you're going to do it right. Like I told you how I do it at our agency for clients. It's going to take you more time or more resources, more time paying somebody to do it. But again, it's ridiculous to say, oh, it's not worth it to do it because it's going to take so long. The results are so damn good by setting up single keyword ad groups. You're going to get a 10,000% ROI on your time. So at least when you look at things big picture, next 5-10 years, what benefit you're going to get out of that. So there's no reason at all not to do it if you're in a market where you're going to benefit, which is most of them, like I said before. If you want somebody that just will do it, most people are just annoyed the fact that they have to do it and they're busy. So if that's the case, and you're not operating your business on a shoestring budget to begin with, just pay somebody to set these single keyword ad group campaigns for you. And then just look at what the work they did when it's done and green light it and run it, and you'll get all these returns. And what price you have to pay to get it set up, it's literally a drop in the bucket in terms of the return you're going to get on the back end. Our firm will charge, we don't even have setup fees, so it's not like we really don't charge, but respectively, hiring, even if you had to hire us for 6 months, because that's like kind of like our minimum time commitment we typically work with the client, you had to hire us, or if you want to say 3 months, technically, sometimes we do a one-time setup. We'll charge like $6,000 US to get a single keyword ad group set up for a client in an industry. And that sounds like a lot, but literally you're going to be making $6,000 a month in profit once these ads are working, and within the first 12 to 24 months of the process. It's literally nothing. The only way that you should fuss about that kind of a price to get a single keyword ad group set up is it literally if you have no money to invest. If you got any kind of money on deck that you are saying, I don't know what to spend it on, if you aren't doing this, you're crazy, basically, because it's going to make so much money. And the reason why it makes so much money is because your competition's not willing to do it, like I mentioned before. Therefore, the user's going to get a great experience. They're going to click through it on your ad at a much higher rate and convert at a much higher rate. Google's then going to promote you you're going to become their favorite, and they're going to lay it on thick for you, roll out the red carpet for you. And so why would you, there's very little money in just coming to the plate an average setup on Google. The amount of money it costs in a good setup is really not that different in the grand scheme of things, but the results you get is just miles difference from the actual good setup that's going to beat your competition right from the start. Yes, you're going to have to spend some money up front, not only in the setup, but the time it's going to take for Google to properly evaluate your setup, given that you're spreading out your clicks over many, many different ad groups, but it's worth it at the end of the day, like I said. Now, the opposite end of this, in terms of the STAG campaign setups, it takes way less time to set up, which is the main benefit of doing it, and quicker route to profitability, like I said. The difference in the speed that it can take to get to initial profitability with your ads, because unless you're in a market with super high demand and very low competition, you're not going to get your ads to work the very first month, or to get to profitability, break-even profitability the very first month. We've done it, but it's in markets where there's a gap, there's high demand and low competition. Typically, you're talking about 3, 6, 9, 12 months into the process, we hit break even. And then, but it's worth it even if it takes 12 months because you're going to run that campaign for the next 10 years. So I don't know what you're belly aching about. And in fact, if it were easy to make money in a month, any Joe Schmo with $5 in his pocket would come to Google Ads wanting it too. You don't want it to be easy. And if it were easy, there would be no opportunity because he would already be in it. Real gangsters to come in who got money and understand that the best things in life cost money, and you want the money to be the barrier to entry, truly. You could get the campaigns with the STAG setup, whereas a STAG setup can get you, let's just say if it took you, because it varies by market still, but if it took you 3 months to hit profitability with the STAG setup, it could take you 6 to 9 months with the single keyword ad group setup to get to those same level, break-even results, if you will, same level of break-even results, which sounds like a lot. It's expensive to have to wait that long to hit break-even profitability. But again, once it is profitable, you're going to make 2 to 3 times as much money on the back end. And you could start with the STAG setup and then get it working and then invest in the single keyword ad group setup. But then you're still going to have to spend that same 6 to 9 months to get the data on that setup to have it to where it's break even. Actually, it's not necessarily quite that accurate, because if you do well at one campaign setup, Google will take this and look at what you did here to assume this other campaign setup you do that you're also running your account. It'll make an assumption that it's likely to be good or as good, if you will. Whereas if you just took that single keyword ad group setup in a new account, it's going to take longer to get it scale up because they think you're like the average everyday advertiser who spends 15 minutes setting up their ads. Therefore, most of what they see in a new account is shit. They come set up an account, spend 15 minutes setting it up. They say that it doesn't work in 60 days. They think it's like a light switch that they have to turn on, and they just show up and give them their money and they're done. And then they shut it off. And Google thinks you are that person by default, but they see you advertise for 6 months already, and you get a decent click-through rates, decent conversion rates. Yeah, they will think your single keyword ad group setup is going to be at least fair quality in terms of the results it's getting for their users, click-through rates, conversion rates, and give you some benefit of the doubt up front. So with that said, okay, you can decide if you want the big money and you want to get to the big money sooner, or do you want to play this, let's do STAG up front and then the SKAG set up a little bit later. But that gives you the general idea of. Now, something else I wanted to mention here as well is with the single themed ad group setups, STAG setups, you're going to make a higher profit margin if you're an agency. For people that don't run an agency, this gives you some insight as to what hiring an agency is about. I don't know why more people don't ask themselves, but when you see those low prices that PPC agencies charge, where they're charging like 10% of ad spend, you have a starting ad budget of like $2,000, and therefore the agency is going to get paid $200 a month. They ain't doing it for you in terms of an actual single keyword ad group setup or anything like it, because they can't, because there's not enough money involved in the process. And they know you're probably going to quit in 3 months anyway because you're going to have ridiculous sky-high returns. So they're just going to barely try and take your money and assume you're going to quit in 3 months, and they're going to take your money. This is how 90% of the advertising agency world starts, or exists, if you will. But again, you can't blame them because the people have very low loyalty to the agencies they work with, so neither side trusts each other. The agency just wants something that it'd be nice to get good results as long as it doesn't take too long. Well, single keyword ad group setups that get the most results take too long, so they're not going to do them, and they want to be able to make some money while that client's still there with them. So they can use a STAG setup to get decent results, but still not take forever. Still doesn't take so much time to set up, therefore they can still make money on when you're only getting paid like $500 a month or whatever, and can still make it work, okay? Versus the 50 keywords in one ad group, which is going to get you mostly terrible results. Single keyword or the STAG setup will get you pretty decent results. It won't get you all the results, like I said, but it could be a good middle ground if you don't charge your clients too much money per month. For me, I've said many times on this channel before, it makes 0 sense to hire a discount PPC service, because you're only going to get part of the results for doing part of the work. There's universal truths that in terms of stuff that the consumer wants to see from you, and you're either going to do all of it, none of it, some of it. The less you pay, the less, assuming, there's still people that charge that exists 100%. Assuming you actually find somebody who cares to do it, they're halfway ethical. They're trying to use your money to get you the best results that the money will afford them to do. you pay $500 a month, they're just going to do 25% of the work that's necessary, should be doing. And you're going to bitch at them, and you're going to expect because you pay this fee, they should be getting you more results. At the end of the day, they can't tell you it's $2,000 a month. What it really takes to do all the work like they should, because you don't want to hear it. You don't want to hear it either. So nobody freaking wins in that scenario at the end of the day. The sooner you realize time consuming and difficult and takes a high IQ person to really do well, the sooner you'll get to the millions of dollars that you want to spend. Or if you don't have much money, you do it yourself. You watch this channel, you learn how to do it yourself. Truly, I haven't seen a single PPC service worth a damn that where the agency is going to be paid $1,000 or less that gets good results. It's thousands a month if you're going to get even halfway good results. And the really, really, really good results where they go into every nook and cranny on everything, you're going to be paying 10, 20 grand a month. Realistically, like if you pay between $2,000 and $5,000 a month for a PPC agency that just has to manage your PPC, not everything else, because if they do everything for you, they're going to say, well, it's half-assed the PPC because we can only do so much for this client. That is, if you're forced them to do your social media and all this other stuff. $2,000 to $5,000 a month is enough to get a decent result out of what you're doing. A lot of people don't want to pay it because there's agencies out there that'll say, we'll do your PPC for $200 a month. And then they just know what you want to hear. They know what you want to hear, so you can't blame them because that's legitimately what people want to hear. And they just give them what they want to hear. And then at the end of the day, nobody wins, but they don't have a way to explain. What I'm saying here is you can't do all the work that's necessary for that kind of money. Anytime you hire a service professional, you should be asking yourself, how is it for what I'm paying them? Are they going to be able to hire somebody and do a good job and mark up the rates? And think about, is it logistically possible for the money I'm giving them to do what they need to do? Some people just think PPC is like you go in there and click a couple buttons and you're done. And that's the absolute not truth about the situation. But you should ask yourself, what is it legitimately going to take? You don't want to do it because it takes time. But yet you want to hire somebody for $200 a month and expect it to get done. It's just not going to get done for that kind of money. Anyway, I apologize if I offended anybody watching this video. I'm sure there's some people watching this that's pissed, but I'm not here to be a people pleaser either. You could get good results even if you charge several hundred a month. That is possible if you're just starting out. I even undercharged for a while, but the mature agents, they can't survive doing over-delivering and for almost little to no money either. So anyway, going back to the topic at hand here. By the way, the other easy out for you, if you don't have the money to pay a few grand a month for a decent PPC agency, if we worked in your niche market before, and I've worked in over 100 niche markets in the last 10 years of running our PPC firm, we can give you the ad templates that work for your niche market already. That is, if you're a plumber, already have been doing very, very well in the plumbing space, spending millions of dollars in ad spend over the years, we can give you the winning ads, landing pages, campaign templates, all of it to copy paste to your account. And then you don't have to learn all this stuff, of which all the campaigns I set up are using single keyword ad group setup. So you could just get the winning version of all of it with the revisions, with us having optimized it over years, of which we can tell you the results we get with it up front. And then you could just, for a one-time 4-figure fee, get the winning template and you're using it and you're off to the races. You don't have to do any of this work. At the very least, you should reach out to me and see if we worked in your niche market. And if we've gotten the results you're looking for in a different geographic area that you're in or a different country that you're in. And because you're going to save all this time and money for, that you don't necessarily have to spend it all. Find out what we found out in your niche market already. And then ultimately from there, we also have a guarantee program. We do not charge management fees until you get a certain level of profitability from what we're doing up front, of which we're going to set up a single keyword ad group setup. We're going to let the campaign spool up. We're going to get the result, then you can pay us once the result's there. Of course, our fees are not cheap, like I said. If you are willing to pay good rates for the best results, that's what we offer, because we can't offer good results for cheap. So we're just upfront about it. We say, hey, yes, our fees are high, but the results are this, and if we get you these results, we want these fees. It's way higher than what you're going to hear from the other agencies. But they're not doing all the work and you're not going to get these results. So anyway, back to the topic here at hand. Single keyword ad group makes way more money. It's going to take longer to initially get going and you got to spend a lot of time initially setting things up. Single themed ad groups, STAG setups, you can get them going fairly quickly. It'll get you decent results, way better than what, not using STAG setups at all. Probably going to put you in the top 20% of advertisers. in your market and can do fairly well with them and not have to spend too much money up front, time waiting for to hit baseline profitability. This is not everything. You still got to know how to write an ad. You still got to know how to make a landing page. If you want to know that information, I give you all that information for free on this channel. So therefore, you should subscribe to this channel. I spend 40 hours a week doing all the ad testing and figuring out what works. So you don't have to. Therefore, you should subscribe if you are serious about making millions of dollars running ads for your business and you really do want to run your ads yourself. It's all here. I can tell you from personal experience, 99% of the information you're going to find on the internet, including on YouTube, about how to do ad strategy is coming from people that are charlatans. They're not really running ads. They're telling you they're running ads and they're not. And they're trying to sell you a damn course, or they're trying to you're going to hire them for agency services and they're going to hire some freelancer to do your work. There's no results there and they're pulling your leg. My full-time job is just doing ad testing. Legitimately. At our agency, I don't have somebody else do the work. Yes, I run the agency. I own the agency, but I also work directly with my clients. I do all the strategy. My job is only strategy. It's not do the work because I have a team that helps me execute. I review what they do after that's done, and then I see the results of it. And we use the team to leverage my time. It's literally, so out of all the possible sources of information you could, possibly hope for, it's literally legitimately the best information source you could get. So you should subscribe. You should also check out my blog at guaranteeppc.com/blog because the information I have there is actually even better. It has step-by-step instructions to do strategies that we use to guarantee results for our clients at our firm. You'll probably like that information even more than the channel if you haven't checked it out already. Most do. And if you have any questions, by the way, about anything I covered, you want to know if STAG or SKAG is better for your unique situation, feel free to leave me a comment in the comment section below. I usually get back to every single person who leaves me a question or comment in the comment section within 24 hours, as I like to just give back to anybody who watches. You're helping our channel grow, and I owe you that at the very least. So I don't bite, so you can ask all the questions you want. Single keyword ad, if you want to be the Mac Daddy in your space, there is nothing, you should settle for nothing less than single keyword ad group setups. It gets the best results. Will it not get the best results? And where it doesn't get the best results, by the way, making the landing page custom each time, making the ad custom each time, it almost universally is going to be, you're going to get better click-through rates if you have a custom ad for each keyword. There are some instances where it won't, like if you're selling like information, if you will, and you're just trying to cast a wide net, somebody who wants to make their car faster, we'll have an ad that says, want to make your car faster? And then we'll direct them to an article which pitches a particular product, and in that unique situation, we're throwing a really wide net out there. We don't use single keyword ad groups because we want them to see a certain message, a headline that we know pulls. But everything else where you're doing the typical, they're searching for this, I'm offering them, I offer exactly that. The single keyword ad groups win every time. So, but with that said, that gives you the basics, the differences between these two. What are the differences in there? And of course, in terms of results, going, we had a veterinary account where we started out with the single ad STAG setup, and we switched to the SKAG setup later on, like I mentioned before, how you could do a tiered strategy where you start with the STAG setup, then transition to the SKAG setup. And when we did that, the click-through rates were much, much higher going with that. But, that industry, it's a little bit different. There's a lot more variety in searches in that space for veterinary clinic, but we more than doubled the click-through rates. Now, STAG setup was already getting us twice the click-through rates than the average person's going to get in that space, but we doubled it again going to the single keyword ad group setup. Then from there, switching and having the custom headlines, STAG setup, you should still have a custom landing page for each, ad group that you have. Like in our case, we had one page for hamster treatment, one page for snake treatment, and so forth. Everything that we did, we had custom headlines added to that structure, that landing page structure, and we got considerably more conversion rate to go along with it. It was about 30% more conversion rate in that particular instance, adding the headlines. So the headlines matched the headline on the ad, which matched the user search. And so that gives you a general idea of what you can basically expect. As I mentioned, and promised I would offer you on this video in terms of actual case study results, what kind of results you should be able to get. I usually, because I use a single keyword ad group setup, I don't have the tiered, starting with STAG and then go to SKAG. So I don't have too many different individual use cases where I can mention. Once in a while, we'll do it, particularly when the client says, I need to get these ads up now, I can't wait, and then we'll do it. And it's either the results now or never, and then we'll go with this first, then we'll go to this. And the results are, when we switch from one to the other, is typically about the same as what I just described, plus or minus 50%. And so that that's basically what you should expect with it. When you do switch over to the SKAG, you're going to want to run the SKAG campaign side by side with the STAG campaign until the SKAG campaign gets enough data behind it. The conversion rates, or should I say the cost per lead and ROI is better than the STAG setup campaigns and campaigns that you had under the STAG setup is, and then you'll start to pause the STAG campaigns that you had before and just run the SKAG campaigns exclusively. SKAG campaigns will universally always get 2, but usually 3 times the click-through rate as a typical ad without SKAG. And the conversion rates are going to be at 2 to 5 times higher a non-SKAG campaign setup and non-STAG campaign setup, if you will. So anyway, that should hopefully put things into perspective for you. But with that said, I'll wrap it up with that. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.
Remember when I said SKAG was important during this video? Well, this video here tells you how to do it.